Welcome back, creeps. I'm Adam.
And I'm Dulce.
Bum, bum, bum.
Ah. Ooh, spooky shrimp.
Spooky shrimp, the scariest of all the Halloween crustaceans. We should probably get a close up actually of your fingernails as well. Shows our nails there, love. Hang on.
Look, I have a little cleaver.
Cool. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Hey, y'all.
First of all, I would actually like to apologize for my behavior. Now, for not uploading as much. I thought we'd be like back in full force, but we haven't quite been able to because we've had such a busy Halloween, like October.
Like Halloween hasn't even happened yet.
Yeah.
Halloween
month.
Yeah.
I have notes here. Straight off the bat, I was on an episode of Poisoner's Cabinet. I think it might only be on their Patreon, but that was a whole lot of fun. It was just me and Sinead shooting the shit for a while. And also, we did an episode with Monster Fuzz. Well, it was actually on all of these podcasts, it's been like half of each podcast. It was me and Rob from Monster Fuzz, again, just shooting the shit. So make sure to check that out. That's on both of our feeds. Monster Fuzz and Weekly Creep. So if you like Monster Fuzz, go check them out. But yeah, I feel like we have just kind of been non-stop this month.
Well, we had a trip.
We had like an actual literal trip. Like,
Yeah, we didn't take drugs. Like, we went somewhere.
yeah, we went to Ohio, of all places.
Point Pleasant.
Oh yeah, and fucking Point Pleasant. Yeah, we saw the Mothman statue. We
Yeah.
didn't see the actual Mothman.
See, from the front, it's very unassuming. She's very like demure, you know?
I knew you were gonna say demure.
But when you go to the back, it's definitely formal in the front, party in the back.
When you hit it from the back.
But like the back, like I looked at we came upon the statue like on its front, and I was like, there's no way they got
This
like,
is the one from the Legends.
yeah, this is not the one with the buns. And so we went around it, and it was like as if two people made this statue. Like, one is in charge of like the top half, you know, and then the bottom half was made by someone who was like, wouldn't it be funny, you know, like,
Or someone who just loves a good bum.
yeah, because the crack is so prominent. It is defined.
Like,
It is,
not just the fun, but the actual arse crack. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
like the crack. It's very defined. It's very crisp. You know, like the line is very crisp.
Yeah, it's quite literally buns of steel.
Like, yeah, it is. Like, I go to the gym and I see guys working on their legs, and I'm like,
Nice.
you could never.
Yeah, why is it so big? His legs
I
are
don't
so muscular. Look.
It's just so accurate.
Why has he got it down? All this way. Put that down.
You could never.
But even cooler, in my opinion at least, we went out to like where the actual, I think it's the first reported Mothman sighting took place out by that abandoned
the
TNT thing. And it was like just the right amount of spooky. We
It
didn't have a whole
was.
lot of time there, but it was like,
It was so. It felt like we weren't supposed to be there.
yeah. And I'll put like, you know, a few, because we did like, we actually videoed the whole time we were there just for like home movies or whatever. But I'll throw some stuff in here about it because it was like literally, like if you go to the Mothman Museum, like it's not a secret, but the girl will, or the person working there will like give you like printed out directions. It's not like quite literally on the map. So it's
Someone
like,
wrote us a map.
yeah, well that was for the cemetery that we didn't get a chance to
Oh,
go to
yeah.
because it was the other side. But yeah, so they give you this like list of directions, and it's like about 6 or 7 stops in up this road, and it was like,
Yeah.
okay, this is cool. Like there was on the other side of the road, as we were driving up, there was literally a dude hunting, like just from the side of the road. He had
Yeah.
his rifle. It was a full-on sniper rifle as well. Like,
Oh,
yeah, and
I must have missed that.
yeah, I think he did. Because at first he just had it sitting beside him, and I was like, oh, maybe he's waiting on his mate or something. He wasn't. He was waiting on something to come up so he could shoot
Something
it.
large.
Yeah. And we went on out anyway, and then so we had seen it in Hellier, and yeah, it was just cool. It was like something that I've read about now so many times, like specifically that same event, and to like be like there, feet on the ground. It was kind of a surreal experience,
Yeah, it was.
and gave a whole new like meaning of fear to the entire Mothman story. I feel like.
Yeah, we had the luxury of going during the day, but to put it in perspective, Adam was like, okay, imagine like we were going down that street where that guy said that he was driving in his car down this one street, and it's leading into woods. You just have trees on either side and this huge Mothman just flying neck and neck with you.
Yeah, keeping up with your car.
Yeah.
And like, cause I'm almost sure I should
Like
have
at night.
I should have reread the account, but I think it was two couples, right? And they were out like necking or something
Oh, were they?
on like at the TNT location, like
Oh.
yeah,
At night.
in their car, and then they saw fucking Mothman. This is Adam from the future here, just going through this and editing. If you're watching this or if you're listening on Spotify, open up here and take a quick look at the video, because I'm actually putting in little clips from the TNT factory. And if I don't add in this little voiceover, it's just not going to make sense, but it's too cool not to add in. So, yeah, I'll get back to the podcast now in a second, but check this out. Oh my God. Do you hear it? Oh. How fucking cool is that? Listen, we're at the TNT area. Oh, it's fucking mad out here. Anyway, that's all. Anyway,
Fucking Mothman.
yeah, no, that was really cool.
They really took liberties with like his butt, because you don't really know what his butt looks like.
Nobody knows what he looks like at all. Something I was listening to recently, I think it was shit, I can't remember. Maybe it was like John Tenney or something like that, but something kind of weirder. Definitely a podcast somewhere. They were saying that like one of the original descriptions of Mothman was basically Bigfoot with wings.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like nothing at all like what the media version of Mothman is, like, you know what I mean? And then like it ties over with the whole red eyes thing as well, because like there's a lot of Bigfoot reports with red eye beings.
Beans.
Yeah, so anyway, it just adds like, yeah, I'm not going down this rabbit hole. This is for like a different show. But yes, we went to Ohio, we went to West Virginia, we had a little flirting with Kentucky, and then we were gone again. You had an actual spooky experience though.
Did
in
I?
Cincinnati. Let me set the scene. Again, I can probably put some footage in here. We get to this house in Cincinnati, and it's actually...
Oh, yeah. God, that feels like so long ago now.
I know, it was literally last week.
It was last...
Not even last week. I think.
Oh,
we
my
only
God,
came home on
y'all. So
Saturday.
this is what happened. So we're in Cincinnati, right? Okay. We drove...
Hold on, let me shake this real
Why are you
quick.
laughing?
Because we're in Cincinnati. All right, okay. All right, go ahead, sorry.
All right. So we're fresh out of Point Pleasant. I think we left Point Pleasant like at 4 p.m. And we had to make like almost a 3-hour drive. to
Oh, yeah.
Cincinnati. Okay. And
Beautiful drive, though.
in retrospect, I'm glad we didn't go to that cemetery that lady told us to go to, because God, I don't think I would have been able to survive that trip. So, like, by the time we get to Cincinnati, I'm dog tired, right? Anyways, so I can't. Did this happen the first night or the second night?
The second night, we stayed one night in two other places because we spent the night in Columbus and then we spent the night like in the middle of nowhere near Point Pleasant, but on the Ohio
Racine.
side. Racine, yeah.
Shout out Racine, Ohio.
Shout out Racine and the lovely locals, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we had 2 nights in Cincinnati.
Shout out Rhonda from Point Pleasant.
Rhonda, the old lady in the shop, yeah, she was actually lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we get there, right? And it's this old ass house. Like, you walk in, you can hear the footsteps kind of deal. Pretty sure, like, underneath your feet is, like, hollow. And so, like, you could fart and the house would creak. It's fucking crazy.
And
but
everyone else would hear it as well. Like, it was actually...
everyone would
the
hear
sound
it.
traveled
So,
immensely.
yeah. But anyways, so we stay there. I'm dog tired and I'm like, this house is creepy. I don't know if it's because I'm freaking tired and I'm annoyed and I'm cold and I'm dirty and I'm hungry.
It also wasn't lived in. So
Yeah, it was like someone had just moved in and left.
yeah, like without emptying like their boxes or something. I don't know. It was
Yeah.
hard to describe. Or like somebody had moved out and whatever furniture was left,
Or
they
you-
didn't want.
Or you know what? It kind of looked like somebody who wasn't from this planet was like, this. I think this is what humans use. They're like,
That's
I
a
think
good point because there was window frames on the mantelpiece.
there wasn't many like
No
decorations.
artwork.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was no pictures, no frame pictures of family.
Or like generic hotel art. And stuff
No,
like that.
nothing like that.
Which I guess now that I've stayed somewhere that didn't have that, now I understand why they put that stuff in hotels.
Yeah, to make it not look like AI. So like
Surreal Engine or something, is that what it's called?
I don't know, but it was like it was like an imitation of a home, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, so first night no incident, whatever. Second night though, I wake up at 3:30 and in the morning to just noises. Like I'm talking like knocks and I'm like, okay, fine, like whatever, like houses make noises, you know? Especially this one cuz it's so freaking old.
And the person that we were traveling with likes to get up,
And go smoke.
yeah, like in the middle of the night at weird hours as well. So.
Yeah, so it's like whatever, you know, and then I heard like this loud thump and I'm like, she probably dropped her phone or something, I don't know. Cuz she did that, you know, she dropped stuff. Anyways, I was like, whatever, no big deal. But like at that time, like when I'm not at home, it still feels weird. Like even I could be at a hotel and I'd get that weird feeling where I'm like, shouldn't be awake. But then I start hearing like dragging noises. Like someone's dragging furniture. Now, I wanted to mention like my cousin like dropping phones and like walking around and shit because it happened so often. You could hear people like us walking around. We were only allowed on the first floor. And I know what that sounds like because, you know, we were, you know, moving around in the house during the day. So
Yeah,
I
familiar with those sounds. Yeah.
Yeah. But these were coming from above, from the place in the house that we weren't allowed in.
But that we definitely snuck up to just to have a look.
Yeah. Well, the first time we went up there was because we didn't know. And then, like, I pulled out my phone to look at the instructions about, like, staying in the house. And as I was up there, I was reading up the instructions. I was like, okay, yeah, let's hurry up and get down because we're not supposed to be up here. It actually says specifically the second floor is off limits. But when we went upstairs, there was a bedroom with like 2 twin beds and like a literal dollhouse, like a human height size dollhouse. And I'm telling you, like it looked like AI was trying to make a house for a family and it just didn't feel right. You know?
That's actually such a good description of it now that you're saying that.
It didn't
yeah.
feel authentic. You know, it felt like it was pretend. But yeah, so That was weird.
I think the word you're looking for as well is liminal. As much as I hate using it because it's such a pop word right now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, but like liminal, it's like, just like you're saying, it's like an other world or like an in-between state. Like somebody is in the act of moving in or moving out.
Yeah, yeah,
And it just felt like we were interrupting or something.
yeah.
But I, on the other hand, we got to this house, and to me, it looked like the house from like King of Queens. I was like, it's a very similar. What's it called? I think is that like a craftsman house? Has all the built-ins. It's all wood, and I was like, this is like the American dream house to me. And we get there, and yeah, like the floors are like bouncy and it's old and stuff. And there's a creepy basement. I think you guys went upstairs and I went downstairs because I'm obsessed with basements. Because
Yeah.
we didn't really have them like growing up and stuff. We don't have them here.
Shit always seems to go down in the basement.
Yeah, and like when I went down, it was like, I was just thinking of it like, oh my God, look at all this space. Like, think of all the activities you could do down here.
Yeah, like the setup was nice. It wasn't like dirt floors and
Yeah, it was a finished floor.
Yeah.
But then there was like one
chains
half,
on the wall. It didn't,
Yeah.
it didn't have that.
but one whole half of it was blocked off, and it just had a little child's chair in the doorway, and it said like, no entry, thanks, or no entry, please, or something.
Yeah.
And then if you looked in through the doorway, there was another room.
Yeah.
And in the other room, there was just a little children's table and 4 chairs.
Yeah.
So I saw that, and I don't remember where I picked this up from, but I was like, I talk to fucking houses now because I'm a lunatic. But I was like, hey, we're just staying for a couple of nights. Like, don't worry, we'll like take care of the place, that kind of thing. We're not up to no good. And so like I felt completely at ease the entire time,
Well,
even with the spooky staircases, and I was the one doing the laundry as well in the basement on my own.
Well, it was fucking with me. And so like I thought it made sense to stay up until at least 4:30 because I thought in my head it made sense. Things don't happen at 4:30 in the morning, so as long as I can stay awake until 4:30 in the morning, I'll be okay. So I started watching YouTube. Like I was fighting sleep. But see, that's the thing. Like it woke me up. The noises woke me up. And I'm usually a good sleeper now because
Yeah.
I work out a lot. And so I'll sleep through the night. And I hadn't been up in the middle. The only time I get up in the middle of the night is if I have to go number 1. You know? But I didn't have to go number 1.
And as well, like that whole week, we were all like really tired
Exhausted.
just from traveling, and we were also like, I think that day in particular, we had spent the entire day at the zoo. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Just it was busy.
And the night before I slept fine.
Yeah.
But like something woke me up, either was able to wake me up or the noise just was loud enough to wake me.
But
One of
not
those-
anyone else.
Yeah, exactly. So
And did it continue like the entire time?
it was pointed, not continuously, but every now and then, you know.
Yeah.
I think the dragging of the furniture only happened like maybe once or twice. But then after that, it was just like knocks and stuff. But yeah, so 4:30 came around and I knocked the fuck out, which is like just a testament to how deep I've been sleeping these days.
Yeah. So that was our experience in Ohio.
Yeah.
Absolutely blown away by nature. If you can hear that noise, it's like finally raining in Houston.
It's
I'm not
rain.
mad. It's absolutely gorgeous. I spent the morning
Enjoy.
sitting out on our little porch and going over the next Weekly Creep series that is coming up before Christmas time. That's what I'm giving myself until Christmas time. But it's going to be a big one. So that's why I'm taking my time with it. And yeah, before we start as well, thank you for everyone who's listened to Houston Strange. Honestly, it's been lovely. I was getting really nice messages. Yoli said hello.
Aw.
Yeah, specifically to you. But yeah, and also, I'm going to have to do it. But if you're listening to this, could you please rate and review on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you're listening? Because those things are very important in order to grow and progress the show and stuff like that. Today we are going to be telling Irish ghost stories from a collection called True Irish Ghost Stories, and I had like time and time and again I had come across this book, and I'd kind of gone, this is probably full of like kids stories or something. And then we saw that like Barnes and Noble not long ago, and it was actually a really nice like green hardback cover, and I picked it up and I was like, oh shit, this is the case studies that I've specifically been trying to find more information on.
Oh.
That like every Halloween these stories come up on like the Irish newspapers and stuff, and it's like, 3 sentences that AI has written to sum up this story that would have happened. Like, so I found 2 specifically that were like close to my heart because I knew that they were out there, but I just couldn't find any more details. And one absolutely terrifying encounter.
So I have a surprise
Okay.
ghost story.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, but hold on. Because
Surprise.
first, God, the rain is actually pissing down. This is the perfect Halloween. I'm so excited.
It's going #1 out there.
It's about to get spooky ooky in here. We have the candles lighting. Ooh.
And look, it looks like a ghost dick on my face. What is that?
So wait, okay, so first, tell me this Mexican ghost story that you have.
Okay. So me and my sister were just in the break room chit-chatting about how we were going to go to Dallas to talk to my uncle about his ghost story. And she was like, oh yeah, have you talked to our tia Susana about her ghost stories? I'm like, nah. She's like, yeah, she told me some. I'm like, tell me. And then she was like, no. And then, no, I'm just kidding. No, but she was saying when she was 19, she went to Mexico, Central Mexico on her own.
Your sister?
To go visit family.
Cool.
And while she was there, she asked mi tia Susana just like stuff about her youth, She was saying that mi tia Tola, who's not with us anymore, she said that when she was younger, she was like she was very beautiful. She was like sought after, and there was a lot of people who were jealous of her beauty. Keep in mind, mi tia Susana and her sister Tola were in a small village. Mi tia Tola started waking up in the middle of the night because she felt like somebody was choking her. Once she realized it wasn't just a one-night thing, it was happening, continuously, she went to a curandera, which is a healer, to basically ask for help. Mi tia Tola told the healer what was happening.
Yeah.
And the healer started getting a feel like, of who is putting this on her. And the healer was real with her. She was like, I can't help you.
Oh, shit.
She's like, I can't help you. Whoever put this on you is stronger than I am. She was like, but there is someone else in the city that can help you. And so she referred her to another curandera in the city. So she traveled out to the city. And when she approached where the curandera does her business, she felt like a resistance, kind of like a force field trying to block her from this place. But she doesn't, and thinking about it, it could be the person who cursed her trying to prevent her from getting help, or it could be she might have just felt the protection force of the curandera that she was about to go visit.
Right.
Because she probably has something on her that is not jiving with clashing with the protection, right? So she goes in and starts talking to the curandera about what's going on. And the curandera was like, cool, I can help you. And she goes, all right, so basically I'm going to do my thing and take this off of you. When you go to bed tonight, you're going to hear noises like cats and dogs fighting underneath your bed.
Weird.
But you can't get out of bed. And when you hear that noise, just know that it's me and the other witch fighting. And after that, you're going to smell the smell of decay.
Jesus Christ.
And that's going to be the person who paid this witch to do this hex on you. So, but the fighting underneath her bed, only one of them can win. And she was saying, either she's going to die or I'm going to die. And after that, the person who put the curse on you is going to die. And that's what the smell that you're smelling, that's that person's decay. And she was like, fuck. And so she's like, all right, bet. So she goes home and it's exactly how she says it's going to be. And I don't know what she paid for this service, because I'm assuming she must have paid a good amount of money, because if you're putting your life on the line for a client, so when she went back to her village, she woke up and she felt better. The next morning, she heard that this lady who was always very mean to her had passed away in her sleep.
God damn. Well, these stories aren't anything like that. You Mexicans are fucking mad. No, that is insane though. Like, that's actually nuts. Oh, because she was a smoking hottie.
Yeah. I mean, jealousy can do crazy things to people.
Yeah.
Well, make people do crazy things.
Well, the Irish ghost stories are not quite like that one. These are a lot more tame. Funny even.
I think it's funny that I'm telling this story as a shrimp.
Yeah. Oh, maybe we should just do candlelight. What do you think?
I like that. Yeah. That's nice.
So our first story is simply titled Corny. This ghost was commonly called Corny by the family, and he answered to this, though it was not his proper name. He disclosed this latter to Mr. C's mother. I will say that I have taken some names out of this because it's so confusing, because he used Mr. C and Mr. A, but then he referred to Mr. A's mother as Mrs. C and all this. So it's like, all right. But yeah, so Corny the ghost did reveal his real true name to Mr. C's mother, who forgot it. So, Corny. Anyway, Corny made his presence manifest to the A family shortly after they had gone to reside in this unnamed street in Dublin in the following manner. Mr. A, which is what I call Dulce's dad. Mr. A had sprained his knee badly and had to use a crutch, which at night was left at the head of his bed. One night, his wife heard someone walking on the lobby, thump, 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 as if imitating Mr. A. She struck a match to see if the crutch had been removed from the head of the bed, but it was still there. From that night on, Corny commenced to talk, and he spoke every day from his usual habitat, the coal cellar of the kitchen. His voice sounded as if it came out of an empty barrel. So, I'm kind of just imagining someone shouting into me. He was very troublesome and continually played practical jokes on the servants who, as might be expected, were in terror of their lives of him. So much so that Mrs. A could hardly induce them to stay with her. They used to sleep in a press bed in the kitchen, and in order to get away from Corny, they asked for a room at the top of the house, which was given to them. Accordingly, the press bed was moved up there. A press bed is, I think you call it a Murphy bed?
What's a Murphy bed?
Like one that you fold up into like a wardrobe or a press.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. The first night they went to retire to bed after the change, the doors of the press, quote, were flung open and Corny's voice said, "Ha ha, you devils! I am here before you. I am not confined to any particular part of this house." Corny was continually tampering with the doors and straining locks and keys. He only manifested himself in material form to two persons. One who died with the fright, and to Mr. A with the dodgy knee, when he was about 7 years old. The latter described him to his mother as a naked man with a curl on his forehead and skin like a clothes horse.
Skin like a clothes horse?
Yeah, so I think that just means like really pale fucking skin.
Oh.
Like a ghost. He could have just said like a ghost. But this actually like stood out to me so much because there's a scene in Father Ted where it's like, oh, I just drew this picture of me with a dog in the nude. Yeah, I'll put that here. One day a servant was preparing fish for dinner.
Fish. Oh, thank
Fish.
God.
I was like, what the fuck are you talking? One day.
You like that one?
Yeah, I like that. That took me off guard. One day a servant was preparing fish for dinner. She laid it on the kitchen table while she went elsewhere for something she wanted. When she returned, the fish had disappeared. She thereupon began to cry, fearing she would be accused of making away with it. The next thing she heard was the voice of Corny from the coal cellar saying, "There, you blubbering fool, is your fish for you." And suiting the action to the word, the fish was thrown out onto the kitchen floor from the coal cellar.
It's a wet slap.
Yeah, and like I'm picturing all this as like Downton Abbey as well. You know what I mean?
That's funny.
Relatives from the country used to bring presents of vegetables, and these were often hung up by Corny like Christmas decorations around the kitchen.
The fuck?
There was one particular press in the kitchen that he would not allow anything into. He would throw it out again and again. A crock with meat in pickle was put into it, and a fish placed on the cover of the crock, and he threw the fish out. It kind of seems like he has a thing for
Throwing
fish,
stuff?
actually, as well.
Oh.
Silver teaspoons were missing and no account of them could be got until Mrs. A asked Corny to confess if he had done anything with them, and he said, "They're under the ticking in the servant's bed."
Haha.
He had, so he said, a daughter in such and such street, and sometimes announced that he was going to go and see her, and he would not be there tonight.
So weird.
Yeah, and he actually would, like, just, the activity would just cease for the night.
Oh.
And then he'd be back. And so, like, all of the street names and stuff were redacted because at the time of this writing, it was like these houses were still being actively lived in and stuff. But this house is in one of the main squares near Dublin. So I'm picturing like Merrion Square or something, where like all the old like British style houses are still there today. On one occasion, Corny announced that he was going to have company that evening, and if they wanted any water out of the soft water tank, to take it before going to bed. Right, yeah, weird. As he and his friends would be using it.
What?
Him and his ghost pals, I don't know. It's like fucking like Hogwarts or something.
Yeah.
Subsequently, that night, 5 or 6 distinct voices were heard, and the next morning, the water in the tank was as black as ink.
What the fuck did they do to that water?
Yeah. And not alone that, but the bread and butter in the pantry were streaked with the marks of sooty fingers.
What the fuck?
Yeah, like, because I know this is like, the way it's written, like, Corny seems like a quite a funny ghost, but if it was a prank that somebody was just living in their coal cellar,
Oh, yeah.
that's another thing I was thinking of. But then, like, that doesn't explain,
The shit flying out the pantry.
yeah, like the
Yeah,
actual
yeah.
paranormal aspects of things. And
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
if he was going to steal the bread and butter, he would eat the bread and butter. He's not just
Instead of
going to
just,
rub
like,
his dirty coal fingers on
Just fondling it.
it. Yeah. And the bread and butter as well. Rotten. A clergyman in the locality, having heard of the doings of Corny, called to investigate the matter. He was advised by Mrs. A to keep quiet and not to reveal his identity, as being the best chance of hearing Corny speak. He waited a long time, and as the capricious Corny remained silent, he left at length. The servants asked, "Corny, why did you not speak?" And he replied, "I could not speak while that good man was in the house." This actually stuck out to me as well, because remember, like, in The Demon of Brownsville Road, like a case that we did like so long ago, but that was like one of those stories where anytime like shit would be going nuts in the house and they'd get a priest in and everything would just stop.
Yeah, yeah.
And like a lot of the time it's like, you know, they're dressed in regular like street clothes or
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Dressed up like prostitutes, like just to blend in.
Dressed up like whores.
Yeah.
Common street whores.
Street walking priests. But it's like, again, this is like one of those things. You're like, oh, wait a minute. This is a consistent theme here. Like, anyway, that's what the shit that gets me.
The shit
that gets my gourd or gets
shit
me
that
going.
gets your goat.
Yeah.
We just watched Night of the Demons, and that's what that old man called Judy in the beginning. She was like, "You whore," or something.
Yeah.
So horror is fresh in my mind right now.
Whore is the word of choice for this Halloween.
Yeah.
The servants sometimes used to ask him where he was. He would reply, "The great God would not permit me to tell you. I was a bad man and I died the death."
Did you now?
That's actually like, so that's a common
I fell
Irish phrase
the
though.
down.
So like you would say, if you were like really embarrassed or like something happened, you'd be saying like, "I died at an absolute death."
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? So that's what I thought. That was strange. I'm not trying to dissect every sentence here, but
I thought he was just being redundant.
it does feel redundant, but then I'm like, is that just the Irish in it? I don't know. He went on to name the room in the house in which he died.
What did he name it? Ah.
Probably like the Red Room, but it's blue now or some bullshit. Corny constantly joined in any conversation carried on by the people of the house. One could never tell when a voice from the coal cellar would erupt into the dialogue. He had his likes and dislikes. He appeared to dislike anyone that was not afraid of him and would not talk to them.
That's funny.
Like a cat. Mrs. C's mother, however, used to get good of him by coaxing. An uncle, having failed to get him to speak one night, took the kitchen poker and hammered at the door of the coal cellar, saying, "I'll make you speak." But Corny wouldn't.
He said, haha.
The next morning, the poker was found broken in two.
Oh.
This uncle used to wear spectacles, and Corny used to call him derisively, Four Eyes.
Suck it, Four Eyes.
An uncle named Richard came to sleep one night and complained in the morning that the clothes were pulled off him.
Sure.
I think he means the bedclothes. Corny told the servants in great glee, "I slept on Master Richard's feet all night."
What the fuck?
No, like
That's
just
so
an absolute
random.
pest. Finally, Mr. A made several attempts to dispose of his lease, as in get out of the rental contract, but with no success. For when intending purchasers were being shown over the house and arrived at Corny's domain, the spirit would begin to speak and the would-be purchaser would fly. They asked him if they changed house, would he trouble them, and he replied, "No, but if they throw down this house, I will trouble the stones." Which is like, how ominous is that?
So don't.
Don't break down, like don't
Break
tear
down
down
the
the house.
house.
Like if you demolish the house, I will go wherever the
Yeah,
stones
yeah.
are. Which actually, now that I'm saying that, that's exactly what the Hellfire Club is built out of a fucking a pagan burial site. The stones, like the
Oh,
hearthstone, as literally either a gravestone or the cover for a fucking passage tomb, and that's where we think a lot of the energy comes from.
Sick.
And I read something very interesting yesterday about like stones being able to literally harbor energy for like thousands of years.
Well, I mean, that's why people have crystals and shit.
Yeah, true, yeah. This story is actually fascinating. The more I read it, the more I'm like, oh
Connecting
shit,
dots.
like yeah. The more I read it, the more convinced that like I am that this is a genuine haunting case and not just some fucking fella living in the coal cellar, like, you know what I mean? Which was my initial thoughts. At last, Mrs. A appealed to keep him quiet and not to injure people who had never injured him. He promised that he would do so, and then said, "Mrs. A, you'll be all right now, for I see a lady in black coming up the street to this house, and she will buy it." Within half an hour, a widow called and purchased the house. Possibly Corny is still there, for our informant looked up the directory as he was writing and found the house marked vacant.
Ooh.
So odds are, like, probably that house is still there, wherever it is. I don't know the exact location. But I'm pretty sure it's at like Marion Square or Fitzwilliam Square, like one of those big fancy squares in Dublin, you know?
Nice.
Yeah. Corny ghost. Do you want to read the next story or?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. This, like, genuinely freaked me out. It takes a lot, like, you know what I mean, when I'm just reading stories, because it's like something that I constantly fucking do.
My turn.
But yeah, this is definitely a favorite. I'm trying to make sure we don't set the house on fire or melt my iPad.
So this is Schoolhouse Ghost. A truly terrifying sight was witnessed by clergymen in a schoolhouse a good many years ago. This cleric was curate of a Dublin parish, but resided with his parents some distance out of town in the direction of Malahide.
Shout out Marcus and Julia. That's kind of their direction.
It not infrequently happened.
It not infrequent. Yeah, that's it. It not infrequently happened that he would.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, I guess that's an Irish thing. Yeah.
It not infrequently happened that he had to hold meetings in the evenings, and on such occasions, as his home was so far away, and as the modern convenience of tram cars was not then known, he used to sleep in the schoolroom, a large bare room, where the meetings were held. He had made a sleeping apartment for himself by placing a pole across one end of the room on which he had rigged up 2 curtains, which when drawn together met in the middle. One night, he had been holding some meeting, and when everybody had left, he locked up the empty schoolhouse and went to bed. It was a bright moonlight night, and every object could be seen perfectly clearly. Scarcely had he gone into bed when he became conscious of some invisible presence. Then he saw the curtains agitated at one end, as if hands were grasping them on the outside. In an agony of terror, he watched these hands groping along outside the curtains till they reached the middle. The curtains were then drawn a little apart, and a face peered in. An awful, evil face, with an expression of wickedness and hate upon it, which no words could describe, even though I just described it.
Don't ruin this one. I love this story.
It looked at him for a few moments, then drew back again. And then the curtains closed. The clergyman had sufficient courage left to leap out of bed and make a thorough examination of the room. But, as he expected, he found no one. He dressed himself as quickly as possible, walked home, and never again slept a night in that schoolroom.
I just think that's like the perfect ghost story. Do you know what I mean? Honestly, it's like short, succinct. I don't even know what succinct means, so I might be using that in the wrong context. But no, I genuinely loved it. And for some reason, in my head, I was picturing salad fingers. You know what I mean? Just that face, like
I like rusty spoons.
yeah. But yeah, in my like the visual of that story in my head was so strong. I was like, this is a short film right here. Like, you know what I mean? Like 30 seconds of like just a priest getting settled in. I love it. And yeah, I can't remember where it was. North Dublin, though. Definitely.
You're like, don't ruin this for me.
Don't ruin this for me. Just says a Dublin parish, but if he lived out by Malahide, it'd be North Dublin, yeah. Very, very cool. Probably one of my favourite little ghost stories that I've heard in forever.
That's just funny. I love that.
On which no words could describe. Listen, all right, you did his best. I thought it was wonderfully written, okay? Whoever this man was. That. Do you know how we got these? This is another reason, actually, why I love this collection of ghost stories. He was like, I want to write a book about ghost stories.
But I can't describe them.
Fucking hell. No. No, he said, I want to write a book about ghost stories, but I've never experienced anything, and I don't know anyone who's ever experienced a ghost, like, really. So he put out an ad in, like, the Irish Independent
Oh, yeah?
newspaper, yeah. And within a few weeks, like, this book, this collection of stories had come back in. He had to, like, file through them, be like, this one's shy, this one I'll follow up with, and then he would ask them questions and, like, more specifics and stuff. So I just thought, like, this is the OG fucking Listener Stories podcast.
This is Houston Strange, but...
I mean, essentially, yeah, I didn't
Dublin.
want to give it Houston Strange that gravitas. But yeah, essentially, yeah, what I'm doing. 100 years later, baby. And then, so this next one, I had picked up, I literally have a note in one of my notebooks saying, fuck all to this story, can't find anything. And then I found it. So I went back and I left another note to myself and I said, it's in this book. But yeah, so this one is the Enniscorthy Poltergeist. And again, if any of you do or are familiar with Monster Fuzz or have listened to them, this is their neck of the woods. Like, this would be, I don't know, within like 15, 20 minutes, I think, of where they live. And I'm almost sure that this building is still there to this day as well. But they deny everything. In the year 1910, in a certain house in Court Street, Enniscorthy, there lived a labouring man named Redmond. His wife took in boarders to supplement her husband's wages, and at the time to which we refer, there were 3 men boarding with her who slept in one room above the kitchen. The house consisted of 5 rooms, 2 on the ground floor, of which one was a shop and the other the kitchen. The 2 other rooms upstairs were occupied by the Redmonds and their servant respectively. So like this person wasn't doing that bad.
No.
You know what I mean? They had enough income. Like, anyway. The bedroom in which the boarders slept was large and contained 2 beds, one at each end of the room. 2 men sleeping in one of them. John Randall and George Sinnott were the names of the 2, but the name of the 3rd lodger is unknown. He seems to have left the Redmonds very shortly after the disturbances commenced.
Ooh. Packed my shit and left.
It was on July 4th, 1910 that John Randall, who was a carpenter by trade, went to live at Enniscorthy and took rooms with the Redmonds. In a signed statement now in possession of Professor Barrett, he tells a graphic tale of what occurred each night during the 3 weeks he lodged in the house, and as a result of the poltergeist's attentions, he lost 3/4 of a stone in weight.
Damn.
Which is...
Ozempic.
It's about 10 pounds he lost in weight, which, I mean, yeah, fair play to him. It was on the night of Thursday, July 7th, that the first incident occurred when the bedclothes were gently pulled off his bed. Of course, he naturally thought it was a joke and shouted to his companions to stop. Please stop taking the bed sheets off me. John Randall, put those bed sheets back where you found them.
It's a sexy party.
This is definitely... The other story, as I was reading it, the more sure I was that it was a ghost story. This sounds like a letter to whatever the gay equivalent of Penthouse Forum is. He shouted at his companions to stop. As no one could explain what was happening, a match was struck and the bedclothes were found to be at the window, from which the other bed, a large piece of furniture which ordinarily took 2 people to move, had been rolled just when the clothes had been taken off Randall's bed. So this is all happening at the same time. The other bed at the opposite side of the room is being like pulled around. Things were put straight and the light blown out, but Randall's account goes on to say, it wasn't long until we heard... No, I can't do it. It wasn't long until we heard some hammering in the room. Tap, 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 like. This lasted for a few minutes, getting quicker and quicker. Oh my God, this is John Randall. No, wait, John's telling the story. This is George Sinnott. Jesus Christ. Getting quicker and quicker. When it got very quick, their bed started to move out across the room. This is serious ghost business. When it got very quick, their bed started to move out across the room. We then struck a match and got the lamp. We searched the room thoroughly and could find nobody. Nobody had come in the door. We called the man of the house, Redmond. He came into the room, saw the bed, and told us to push it back and get into bed. He thought all the time one of us was playing the trick. One of us was playing a trick on the other. I said I wouldn't stay in the other bed by myself, so I got in with the others. Now it's 3 men in the bed. We put out the light again, and it had only been a couple of minutes when the bed ran out on the floor with the 3 of us.
What?
Richard struck a match again, and this time I'm just picturing them all spooning each other. Richard struck a match again. Who's Richard? Richard must be the 3rd unnamed man.
Oh, they slipped.
So Richard struck a match again, and this time we all got up and put on our clothes. Were they the naked man with the bed? They're just been flopping around like
time. And when the guy was like, "Get into bed, you naked man."
Lads, I don't want to hear about it. I don't mind just doing it as long as you're not doing it to me.
Stop playing tricks on each other.
I've got no problem with how you guys live your lifestyle. It's just not for me. They put on their clothes.
He said it all sad.
We had got a terrible fright and couldn't stick it any longer. Jesus Christ. This was not intended. When I read this first time, it was like completely clean and PG. We told the man of the house we would sit up in the room till daylight. During the time we were sitting in the room, we could hear footsteps leaving the kitchen and coming up the stairs. It would stop on the landing outside the door and wouldn't come into the room. I'm starting to think that the landlord really did want to be involved. He was just like listening at the other side of the door. The footsteps and noises continued through the house until daybreak. The next night, the footsteps and noises were continued, but the unfortunate men did not experience any other annoyance. On the following day, the men went home, and it's to be hoped they were able to make up for all the sleep they had lost on the previous nights. They returned on the Sunday, and from that night till they finally left the house, the men were disturbed practically every night. On Monday, the 11th of July, the bed was continually running out from the wall with its 3 occupants, so they're all still staying in the bed. They kept the lamp alight and a chair was seen to dance gaily out into the middle of the floor. On the following Thursday, we read of the same happenings, with the addition that one of the boarders was lifted out of the bed, though he felt no hand near him. It seems strange that they should have gone through such a bad night exactly a week from the night the poltergeist started its operations. So the account goes on. Every night that they slept in the room, the hauntings continued, some nights being worse than others. On Friday, 29th of July, the bed turned up on one side and threw us out onto the floor. And before we were thrown out, the pillow was taken from under my head 3 times. When the bed rose up, it fell back down without making any noise. This is extreme poltergeist activity.
Mm-hmm.
The control of things like landing and not making noise. This bed was so heavy that it took both the woman and the girl to pull it out from the wall without anybody in it. What a strange measurement. What about the 3 men?
Yeah, like where the fuck?
What? Oh, the woman of the house and the servant girl, it must be. And there were only 3 casters on it, so one of the wheels was broke. The poltergeist must have been an insistent fellow, for when the unfortunate men took refuge in the other bed, they had not been long in it before it began to rise, but could not get out of the recess it was in unless it was taken to pieces. So that was like literally built into that corner of the room.
Oh.
It kept very bad for the next few nights, so Mr. Murphy from the Guardian office and another man named Devereaux came and stopped in the room for one night. The experiences of Murphy and Devereaux on this night are contained in a further statement signed by Murphy and corroborated by Devereaux. They seem to have gone to work in a business-like manner, as before taking their positions for the night, they had made a complete investigation of the bedroom and house so as to eliminate all chance of trickery and fraud. By this time, it should be noted, one of Mrs. Redmond's lodgers had evidently suffered enough from the poltergeist, as only 2 men are mentioned in Murphy's statement, one sleeping in each bed. They must have had a falling out. And I think Richard's gone
Well, no,
home.
I think it's because the investigators are there.
Oh, yeah. The 2 investigators took up their position against the wall midway between the 2 beds, so that they had a full view of the room and the occupants of the beds. The night was a clear, starlit night. No blind obstructed the view from outside, and one could see the outlines of the beds and their occupants clearly. At about 11:30, a tapping was heard close at the foot of Randall's bed. My companion remarked that it appeared to be like the noise of a rat eating at timber. Sinnett replied, "You'll soon see the rat it is." The tapping went on, slowly at first, then the speed gradually increased to about 100 or 120 per minute, the noise growing louder. This continued for about 5 minutes, when it stopped suddenly. Randall then spoke. He said, "The clothes are slipping off my bed. Look at them, sliding off. Good God, they're going off me."
Look at them.
Look at them. He just seems so helpless. Mr. Devereaux immediately struck a match, which he had ready in his hand. The bedclothes had partly left the man's bed, having gone diagonally towards the foot, going out at the left corner, and not alone did they seem to be drawn off the bed, but they appeared to be actually going back under the bed, much in the same position one would expect bedclothes to be if a strong breeze were blowing through the room at the time, but then everything was perfectly calm. So this, like, in fairness to them, like, this does sound terrifying. That's like literally the monster under the bed. Like, a search was then made for wires or strings, but nothing of the sort could be found. The bedclothes were put back and the light extinguished. For 10 minutes, silence reigned, only to be broken by more rapping, which was followed by shouts from Randall. This looks like a job for me, so everyone.
You're like,
We got them taps up to 120 beats per minute. This was followed by shouts from Randall. He was told to hold on to the clothes, which were sliding off again, but this was of little use, for he was heard to cry, I'm going, I'm going, I'm gone. And when a light was
What
struck,
the
he was
fuck
seen to
is
slide
this?
from the bed and all the bedclothes with him. Yeah, just fucking get a hold of yourself, man.
I'm going.
Randall, who, with Sinnott, had shown considerable strength of mind by staying in the house under such trying circumstances, had evidently had enough of the ghostly hauntings, for as he lay on the floor, trembling in every limb and bathed in perspiration, he exclaimed, "Oh, isn't this dreadful? I can't stand it. I can't stand it here. I can't stay here any longer." He was eventually persuaded to get back to bed.
What the fuck?
Later on, more rapping occurred in a different part of the house. In a different part of the room. But it soon stopped and the rest of the night passed away in peace. Randall and Sinnott went to their homes the next day and Mr. Murphy spent from 11 till long past midnight in their vacated room, but heard and saw nothing unusual. He states in the conclusion that Randall could not reach that part of the floor from which the rapping came on any occasion without attracting my attention and that of my comrade. Yeah,
That's how good the rapping was.
that's how good the rapping. It's going to be a smooth transition
Oh,
from lights out to lights on. Probably. I don't fucking know. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that. Honestly, I'm not going to lie. And I feel like you did too.
I did.
So yeah, that's just like a little bonus for Halloween. Thanks everybody. And if you've made it this far, Houston Strange episode 2 is also coming out today. So that's 2 episodes of us.
I'm not on Houston Strange.
Yeah, but like, you know, it's Creep Media
Oh, yeah.
Network, you know,
Yeah.
of which you are the CEO for tax purposes. But yeah, send us pictures of like your Halloween costumes. Do something cutesy and fun like that because
Your pets.
or your pets in their Halloween costumes. I feel like we've been kind of disconnected because we've been so busy and stuff like that. And yeah, we love hearing from you all, to be honest.
I wanted to say I've been reading a lot, like nonfiction or fiction. And if you have any recommendations for fictions,
Recommendations. Sorry.
I don't know what happened there.
I'm the same. I'm stuttering as well.
If you have any recommendations, please shoot them my way. So far, like the list is growing, and yeah, just shoot me your favorite book and I'll check it out. So far, when I've been talking to people about their favorite books, they talk very animatedly about it. Those are the ones that I usually jot down, and I've read them. Still in the process of reading recommendations, and they've all been like hits for
Yeah.
me. The list has gotten so long of recommendations that I haven't been able to just go to like a bookstore and just browse to pick a new book because I have a list of recommendations that I still need to go through.
And I actually forgot to mention at the top of the show, because we've been we actually have been watching quite a few like spooky things. A brilliant Irish short film.
Look at my tail.
There's a brilliant Irish short film on Vimeo of all things. I didn't even realize Vimeo was still really a thing. Called Shadowban. I watched it yesterday. It's like filmed, I think, in Leitrim. I found it because of Emma from Real Life Ghost Stories. She was talking. It's actually filmed near where she grew up. It's all Irish, director, cast, all that kind of crack. But it's actually just fantastic. Honestly, like that's the level of stuff that I would love to be making. And then I just finished watching VHS for the first time, which is apparently one of those legendary movies that I've never seen. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm probably going to watch the second one tomorrow morning if I can get this edited soon enough. And yeah, what was the other one? Night of the Demons?
Yeah. The one that was came out in 84, I think it was 84.
Yeah, that like I do like those older ones.
I actually got that recommendation from a podcast I've been listening called Very Delta, when they were talking about scary movies, and she mentioned a character called Angela from Night of the Demons, saying Angela walked so Nancy from The Craft could run. And I was like, I gotta watch this. So I watched it and I was like, yeah.
I get that actually. Yeah. Yeah, lots of spooky 80s nudity, and it was but like the quality of it, that's what I was saying. Like it still actually looked like a new movie.
Yeah, it did.
So I don't know if it was like remastered or something like that, but yeah, it was really, really fun.
Like the house was cool. The wardrobe.
Yeah, like the visual effects.
good.
It was like real makeup effects and stuff, which that is
Yeah.
my favorite. I still like,
It's crazy to think like, because I was looking at it through that lens where it's like people can do like CGI stuff these days,
yeah,
and looking at all that stuff, being like thinking like, wow, people, this is like handmade stuff. This is like people's,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
craft, like
The craft, yeah, exactly. And it still looked so good. Like I know there's like movies out there, like B movies, where it obviously looks like really bad because it's like super fake looking and blah blah blah. But like this, it actually was visually pleasing. Like it looked cool. Like there's no other way to
Yeah.
put it. Like the gore, the makeup of the people that were possessed, like it was all like it just all looked really good.
yeah, and like I will be the first one to admit I like actively dislike like superhero movies and stuff like that, and that's one of the major drawbacks for me. Like that why I don't like those movies is because like the amount of CGI and stuff like that, and I'm just like I'm not here for it.
Yeah.
Like give me a terrible looking monster that's handmade, and I'm all about it.
You know, I just came upon an article, like it was like 50 monsters. And I was like, oh, let me see what these monsters are like, right? And I'm thinking like I'm gonna see like just Freddy Krueger, you know, and or
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Universal monsters or whatever. But they were like monsters from movies that I remember watching. Like these are not just old movies, these are just movies that have come out, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember these monsters, and this, I feel like this is a really good list. And once I find it, I'm pretty sure I still have it saved. Once I find it, I'll show it to you. But the monsters and the movies that they're in, they were all hits. Like the mirror, like they even showed like one of the monsters was the mirror from Oculus. And I remember watching that movie and
Okay.
being like, God damn, this fucking movie is so fucking scary. And like fucking the fly monster from The Fly.
I still have not seen that movie.
That is so gross. But like basically like, you know, those kind of like iconic fucking, and so like because I saw those monsters and those movies listed in that article.
Yeah.
There was other movies that were listed, and it made me even more interested to watch those because I want to check out those movies now.
Yeah, I think I also watched Terrifier, which Dulce refuses to watch. I thought it was great.
Unnecessary,
Honestly.
like from what I hear, it seems like unnecessary gore.
Yeah, but like, because I was kind of the first one to be like, oh, this clown, like Art the Clown, it's not like he's trying to be like an OG scary thing, and he's not. Like, he can't be because it's just like, you know, he's going to try too hard. He didn't. Like, he fucking nailed it. So the actor, this isn't a movie podcast, so, you know, whatever, but
It could be.
but the actor who plays him apparently actually was a mime at one point. And like, I don't know, like I'm not gonna do it justice explaining it. Like, for the people out there who have seen Terrifier, the actual Terrifier, and not like the pre-Terrifier shorts, because that was a different actor, and that's why the series has taken off so much now, because the dude who actually plays the clown now is like a legit fucking mime and stuff. Like, it's just, I thought it was really, really good, honestly. Like, just the right amount of like silly and fucking wild. Like, and yeah, there was a bit of gore, but I'm here for it. I loved watching like Hostel and stuff like that.
And that's the thing. Like I was gonna say, it's not like I don't like, for example, I'm not saying I watch movies for that, but there are movies that I like that include that. For example, the Halloween franchise. Like, I enjoy the Halloween franchise, and I recognize that there is like murder in that, obviously, but it's not like
It's not the same level.
it's not exaggerated.
It's not like bags of pig guts like falling out.
Yeah, it's not like Hostel level. It's not like Saw
Yeah.
level. It's not like it's not gross just to be gross. You know what I
Well,
mean?
see, I kind of like that because I like watching a movie, and I don't think this makes me weird. I'm like, because other people like these movies too. I like watching a movie and kind of going like, oh God, like I can feel that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's how I felt at the end of The Substance. And
Which I still haven't seen yet.
And that's how I knew. I was like, okay, yes. Still, body horror, still not for me. And neither is like exaggerated like gore. Kind of like the Leprechaun movies. Like, that's exaggerated like gore to me.
I think I've only seen one of them, like the first Leprechaun. But anyway, yeah, so drop your recommendations. Let us know what you're watching. We didn't do like a 31 for 31 because we have opposite shifts, so we don't actually go to bed together anymore.
No,
Like,
yeah.
except
I
a
get out
couple
at
of nights.
3:30 and Adam goes to work at 3.
Yeah, so but I would like to start just aggressively watching more horror movies, you know what I mean? Yeah, 'tis the season, and I'm looking forward to Terrifier 3 because it's Christmas themed. So
We should start watching The Office for Christmas.
we're talking about horror movies here.
I'm just saying.
All right, and on that note, we're going to wrap up here. We will be back. We're going to be making an extra effort to make more weekly creep, and just like legit episodes. I know people aren't really that interested in like the back and forth interviews that we do, but it's a great way for us to make good connections and make more friends in the podcast world. So we're not going to shy away from it, but I'll try and do more just regular episodes. And yeah, that's it. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween. Be safe out there.
It's gonna be like a freeze frame, and then you're just gonna be like, okay, bye.
And then a shrimping boat came and took us away.
Okay, do you want me to say like welcome back creeps and then you spin, or do you want to just spin?
Say welcome back, creeps. I'm Adam.
It's gonna smell like a boudoir in here.
Like a whore. It smells like whore in here.
It
Just-
smells like one of your whores, Charlie.
Oh shit. That's the alarm for the chickens.